What sort of rebuild do you think the Eagles are going to go through this offseason with the amount of impending free agents that they have on their roster over the next couple months?
This, like I said, this was their win right now. This was their we have to win the Super Bowl because the odds of bringing 75% of those names back is highly unlikely. And I will start that with the conversations that have been looming in Philadelphia between their front office and starting quarterback Jalen Hurts have all been trending upward up to this point of the number floats around. Reports are some are saying 45, some are saying $50 million a year. After a performance like this in the Super Bowl, I think that number solidified, in my personal opinion, of upwards of 50 a year. I don't think that that's necessary. But again, from what I'm understanding, what I've seen, and then after this game, I think Jalen Hurts is going to get probably the biggest contract for an NFL quarterback. I know it's probably not going to touch Patrick Mahomes in terms of $500 million with everything that's included, but in terms of average yearly salary, I think Philly's going to bear no expense to making sure that he's the quarterback for the rest of his life. He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles for the rest of his life. With that said, we just talked about this with Lamar. Is that going to take away from the potential of bringing other people back? Absolutely. Fletcher Cox, I don't know if he's coming back. Brandon Graham in his higher age, I don't know if he's coming back. There are already rumors that James Bradbury was that he wanted to go back to New York. After that holding penalty, he might just want to worry his way back to New York. There's just so many people on that list. Jason Kelsey may retire. They, how can you bring them all back? Kaiser White, arguably their best linebacker next to TJ Edwards. Zach Pascal, one of their best special teams players, former Colt, by the way. Um, I mean, Chauncey Gardner Johnson led the league in interceptions this year, and he missed like 6 games. That's somebody you traded for. You got to bring him back, right? I don't know. He's going to get top safety money somewhere. I don't think this is going to be possible. I think this is going to be probably one of the hardest off seasons for Howie Roseman and company because you did so much to bring them all together. You're already $3 million over. You were willing to pay the tax or the luxury or whatever the hell the situation is in the NFL, because I know that in the NBA totally different. And then obviously in the MLB you have to avoid arbitration. So it's like Philly's got a big offseason in front of them. They have a lot of decisions to make. Now, whether or not that's you guys bringing people in the draft to replace those older players. I know that Jordan Davis was drafted specifically to be the replacement eventually to Fletcher Cox, but does that mean you let him go? I know that Derek Barnett was given an extension last year, but does that mean you let Hargrave go? I know you gave Josh Sweat an extension last year. Does that mean you let BG go? You gave Slay his big contract. You let Bradbury go? It's complicated because you have to understand those people are going to fall off of the books, right? They're all free agents. That means you're going to have a lot of money to mess around with once the year ends, once free agency opens. But Jalen is going to take priority. He's going to take precedence, and unless he hits you with a very mature Tom Brady-esque, I will take less to bring them all back. I don't see that happening. Jalen wasn't a first round pick. Jalen was a second or third round pick. He's going to go get that bag. If he has an opportunity to make Patrick Mahomes money, Aaron Rodgers money, Russell Wilson money at that age, are you crazy? I'm not passing up 250, $300 million. Who knows how much guaranteed after the year I just had? If I don't get hurt, I'm an MVP. I went to the Super Bowl in my second full year of starting, third full year of starting, whatever it is. I had 4 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Do you think I'm going to pass up a bag? I don't know. I really don't know. And with the departure of multiple potential coordinators, obviously the Colts are probably taking the OC. John Gannon is rumored to be interviewing in the second or third interview for the Arizona Cardinals. So I mean, in all likelihood, he may take that job because apparently nobody wants that job because Kyler Murray is too much of a headache. But I don't know what Philly's going to do, man. This is going to be tough. Howie looked like an absolute just wizard when it came to making the moves that he did to acquire specific pieces throughout the season. It looked like he was playing chess while other people were playing checkers. Now you got to put your money where your mouth is, bro, because you got to pay a lot of people. Don't think you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, and it was like you said, Kev, this was really their year to go for that Super Bowl. And live with the results of what you're going to potentially deal with in free agency. Kev, I mean, I already went over the list, but when you're talking about guys who could potentially be on the way out, like Fletcher Cox, Robert Quinn, Brandon Graham, that's just on the defensive side of the ball. Then you got Miles Sanders, you've got Boston Scott. Also on the defensive side, you got Chauncey Gardner Johnson. I mean, these are key pieces that made the Eagles so good this year. And looking at their cap situation, Kev, with them being down 3 million in the hole already, with Jalen's upcoming contract extension, which is going to be significant. There's no doubt about that. Guy made a Super Bowl, his second year starting. He has earned a pretty sizable paycheck as far as I've seen it. But you know what's going to come with that territory, Kev? There's going to be a lot of roster turnover going into this offseason. And to be quite honest with you, they're going to take a hit. Now, how big of a hit, we shall see, but a hit is coming nonetheless. And, that's the thing. Let's say, for example, that the Eagles won this Super Bowl. What comes with the territory of a Super Bowl win is typically there's a lot of player turnover. And, guys are looking to maximize their value, and more than likely, it will be outside of the team that they were a part of that led to that Super Bowl win in that case. But that didn't happen. So now you're looking at a situation where these guys are coming off of a really tough loss in the Super Bowl, and, they're looking for probably greener pastures outside of Philly, knowing what's going to be on the wall pretty soon. Because let's say, for example, Jalen gets paid $40 to $45 million a year in his upcoming contract extension. They don't have a lot of cap room to work with anyway right now. So they're going to have to really focus on restructuring contracts to free up more cap space, or just letting go of some guys outright. And they're going to be, unfortunately, cap casualties based on Jalen's upcoming contract extension. Now, will they be able to free up enough cap space to the point where they can bring in some of these free agents this offseason back into the fold? There's no guarantee with that. You look at some of these guys, you look at like Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham's one of the best defensive players that the Eagles have had the last couple years. Fletcher Cox, the same thing applies. Chauncey Gardner Johnson, James Bradbury. These guys are huge pieces defensively for their secondary. And when it comes to their status of what they could get in a contract negotiation with other teams, some of these guys are probably looking to get somewhere around $15 million a year. And looking at the situation that the Eagles are in with their financials right now, there's no way that the Eagles are going to be able to swing that. And I think going into next year, the Eagles are still going to be competitive in the NFC East. I don't want to make it seem like the Eagles are just going to fall off completely and they're going to be a sub 500 team and they're going to utterly suck. But to say that they're going to be as good as they were this year or potentially better, it's just not reality. They are definitely going to take a hit. I still think that they will be a competitive team because I still believe that they have some core guys to build around for the next couple of years. Obviously, Jalen's going to be that key franchise piece at the quarterback position. They've got A.J. Brown locked up for the next couple of years. They've got Devontae Smith. But offensively, that's pretty much it. And defensively, they're going to look pretty thin. So, the Eagles are going to be faced with a pretty challenging offseason over the next couple months. And there's going to be some roster turnover here. And, maybe this is a situation where they may look to the draft to try to rebuild some portions of this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because that's where a lot of my focus is being paid to, just with the number of free agents that could potentially leave from that defense. It's a pretty high chance that some of those guys are going to be hitting the open market and leaving Philly. So I think Philly's going to try to make some moves in the draft to try to, I guess, cover the gaps or cover the voids that those guys are going to leave if they leave Philly this offseason. Yeah, things are not looking pretty in Philly right now. And, I think this is going to be something that we're going to have to pay attention to pretty significantly, as we get closer to the draft and as free agency really starts ramping up within the next couple of months. So the Eagles got a lot of work they have a lot of work to do over the next couple months, and it's not going to be particularly fun as far as I see it.